Have you ever noticed how your back feels completely different on some days compared to others, even though you haven't done anything particularly strenuous? One morning you wake up and everything moves smoothly. You bend down to tie your shoes without a second thought, and by evening you're wondering why standing at the kitchen counter suddenly feels uncomfortable. Most people assume this is just random, part of the unpredictable nature of getting older. But what if I told you these fluctuations aren't random at all? Your back is actually responding to dozens of small decisions you make throughout each day. Decisions so automatic you probably don't even notice them anymore. The way you reach for your morning coffee, how you position yourself while reading the newspaper, whether you pause to shift your weight while washing dishes, these tiny moments accumulate like pennies in a jar, and over weeks and months they determine whether your back feels supportive and strong or tight and vulnerable. After working with older adults for years, I've discovered something that consistently surprises people: the difference between those who maintain comfortable, mobile backs well into their 70s and 80s and those who struggle isn't about genetics or luck. It's about awareness. It's about understanding that your back isn't a single structure that either works or doesn't. It's a remarkably intelligent system that adapts constantly to how you treat it. And when you start paying attention to certain key patterns, you can influence that adaptation in ways that feel almost immediate. Think about the last time you spent an afternoon doing something you genuinely enjoyed, maybe working in the garden, playing with grandchildren, or getting absorbed in a hobby. Chances are your back felt better during those hours than it does during a typical morning of routine tasks, and that's not coincidental. When you're engaged and moving naturally, your body distributes effort across multiple muscle groups, shifts position frequently without thinking about it, and maintains what we call dynamic balance. But during routine activities, especially ones you've done the same way for decades, your body falls into grooved patterns, using the exact same muscles in the exact same way, which means certain areas get overworked, while others essentially fall asleep on the job. Your back has three distinct regions that need to work as a coordinated team: the upper back between your shoulder blades, the middle back along your rib cage, and the lower back that connects to your pelvis. In most people over 50, these three regions have stopped communicating effectively. The upper back often becomes rounded forward from years of desk work, reading, or any activity where you look downward. And when this area stays rounded, it shifts extra responsibility onto the lower back, which wasn't designed to handle that burden alone. Meanwhile, the middle back, which should provide stability and help you rotate smoothly when you turn to look behind you or reach across your body, often becomes stiff because modern life simply doesn't require much twisting movement. We walk forward, sit facing forward, and even our entertainment comes from screens directly in front of us. So these three regions that should function like a well-rehearsed orchestra end up working in isolation, each playing its own tune, and the resulting discomfort isn't really about any single problem area. It's about disconnection. Here's something I want you to try right now, wherever you're sitting or standing. Without adjusting your posture, just notice where you feel pressure or contact. If you're sitting, what part of your body is bearing most of your weight? For many people, it's heavily shifted to one side, or they're perched at the edge of their seat, or they've collapsed entirely into the backrest. If you're standing, check whether both feet feel equally weighted, or if you've shifted onto one leg without realizing it. This automatic weight distribution happens so naturally that most people could be lopsided for hours without noticing. And here's the crucial point: your back has to compensate for however you've arranged yourself. If you consistently lean to the right while watching television, the left side of your back works overtime to keep you from toppling over. If you always carry your shopping bags on one arm, one side develops strength while the other gradually weakens. Your back isn't complaining because it's old, it's responding to imbalance, and the good news is that balance can be restored much more easily than you might think. One of the most overlooked aspects of back comfort is something called rotational mobility, which simply means your ability to twist. When you were younger, you probably turned your whole body without thinking to look at something behind you, reach into the back seat of the car, or hand something to a person beside you. But gradually, often without realizing it, many people start moving differently. Instead of rotating through the spine, they keep their torso rigid and turn only their head, or they move their whole body like a statue rotating on a platform. This happens because at some point, maybe after a twinge of discomfort or just from habit, the brain decides it's safer not to twist. And once that decision becomes automatic, the muscles responsible for rotation start to weaken. It's not that you can't twist anymore, it's that you've unconsciously stopped practicing it, And like any skill you don't use, it fades. The fascinating thing is how quickly this can change when you reintroduce gentle rotational movements into everyday activities. Instead of reaching for something on a side table by leaning and stretching your arm, try pivoting your whole torso toward it. When you're putting away groceries, deliberately turn to face each cabinet rather than reaching across your body. These aren't exercises in the formal sense. They're simply more efficient ways of moving that remind your spine it's designed to rotate, and most people notice within days that movements feel smoother and more natural. Another pattern worth examining is what happens when you transition between positions. Those in between moments when you're standing up from a chair, getting out of bed, or bending down to pick something up. These transitions are where many people experience their sharpest discomfort, that catch in the lower back when you first stand, or the stiffness you feel rolling out of bed in the morning. What's happening during these moments isn't damage, it's abruptness. When you've been still for a while, the small stabilizing muscles around your spine settle into a holding pattern, and if you suddenly demand they spring into action without any warning, they respond with tension. Think of it like asking someone to sprint the moment they wake up. Their body would protest because it hasn't been prepared. The solution isn't to move more slowly in a fearful way, but to build in what I call micro transitions. Before you stand up from a chair, rock gently forward and back a few times, letting your weight shift and your muscles wake up. Before you get out of bed, spend a few seconds moving your legs, maybe bending your knees and letting them fall side to side, just enough to signal to your body that movement is coming. These tiny preparatory moments give your nervous system a chance to organize itself, and they transform abrupt, uncomfortable movements into smooth, confident ones. Breathing also plays a far more significant role in back comfort than most people realize. When you're anxious, focused, or dealing with discomfort, breathing tends to become shallow and high in the chest, and this shallow breathing actually increases tension throughout your back muscles. Your diaphragm, the dome-shaped muscle beneath your lungs, is meant to be your primary breathing muscle, and when it moves freely, it gently massages the organs below it and helps stabilize your spine from the inside. But when breathing shifts upward into the chest and shoulders, those areas tighten while the core becomes less stable, creating a cascade of compensation throughout the back. Try this simple test: place one hand on your chest and one on your belly, then take a few normal breaths. Which hand moves more? If it's the chest hand, you're breathing in a way that creates tension, but if the belly hand expands gently with each inhale, you're using your diaphragm effectively. You can practice this anytime, in the car, watching television, or lying in bed. Just focusing on letting your belly rise as you breathe in and fall as you breathe out. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but proper breathing reduces muscle tension, improves circulation to tired areas, and helps your nervous system shift out of protective mode and into a calmer state where healing happens more easily. Let's talk about rest, because there's an important distinction between resting in a way that supports your back and resting in a way that actually makes things worse. Many people, when their back feels uncomfortable, instinctively try to find the most supported position possible, often lying flat or reclining completely. While there are certainly times when rest is appropriate, staying completely still for extended periods can actually increase stiffness because your muscles and joints need regular movement to stay lubricated and responsive. Think of it like a door hinge. If you never open the door, the hinge gets rusty and creaky, but if you open it regularly, even gently, it stays smooth. Supportive rest means finding comfortable positions but changing them regularly, maybe every 20 or 30 minutes, and incorporating small movements even while you're resting. While lying down, you might bend one knee and let it fall across your body, or reach your arms overhead for a gentle stretch. Nothing intense, just reminders to your body that movement is safe and available. The goal isn't to push through pain or force yourself into activity when you genuinely need rest. It's to avoid the trap of complete immobility, which often makes people feel more stiff and uncomfortable rather than better. One final insight that I think will resonate with you: your back responds powerfully to your expectations and emotions. Research has shown repeatedly that people who believe their back is fragile and damaged tend to move more carefully, more rigidly, and actually experience more discomfort than people who view their back as strong and adaptable, even when imaging scans show similar physical conditions. This isn't about positive thinking curing everything. It's about recognizing that how you think about your back influences how you move, and how you move directly affects how you feel. If you approach every movement with fear, bracing and tensing preemptively, you're essentially training your muscles to stay tight and protective. But if you can approach movement with curiosity and confidence, trusting that your back is resilient and capable of adapting, your muscles respond by staying more relaxed and coordinated. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight, especially if you've been dealing with discomfort for a long time, but it begins with small experiments. Try moving in a way you've been avoiding, gently and within reason, and notice that you're probably more capable than you feared. Each small success builds confidence, and confidence translates directly into more natural, comfortable movement patterns. Your back isn't something that needs to be fixed or managed like a chronic problem. It's a living, responsive part of you that's constantly adapting to the information you give it through how you move, breathe, rest, and even think. By bringing awareness to your daily patterns, reintroducing balance and rotation, preparing your body for transitions, breathing in a way that reduces tension, and gradually building confidence in your body's resilience, you're not just managing symptoms, you're actively participating in your own well-being. These aren't dramatic interventions, they're subtle shifts that accumulate into genuine, lasting change. And the beauty of this approach is that it respects where you are right now while opening doors to greater comfort and capability. You have far more influence over how your back feels than you've probably been led to believe, and that influence grows stronger each time you choose awareness over autopilot, balance over habit, and confidence over fear.